I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow.
The palace war has exploded into its most dangerous territory yet, as rumors about Archie's parentage collide with claims that King Charles III is finally preparing to punish Meghan Markle, and the controversy is no longer merely about family estrangement, because royal titles, money, bloodlines, and the future of 2 children have now been dragged into an increasingly bitter confrontation built on allegations that remain publicly unverified. Everything reportedly began with Meghan Markle's declaration that both grandfathers would remain excluded from the children's lives. King Charles III and Thomas Markle were suddenly placed on opposite sides of the same locked door, while Meghan publicly presented the decision as an act of maternal protection. Yet critics immediately suspected that something else was unfolding behind that explanation. Was this genuinely about shielding the children, or had access to Archie and Liliette become leverage in a much larger dispute with Buckingham Palace? As private communications allegedly intensified, whispers concerning financial demands began spreading, followed by far more explosive online speculation about the pregnancies and the children's biological parentage. No credible evidence established those rumors as fact, but their appearance transformed an already painful family dispute into a scandal threatening the monarchy itself. For Thomas Markle, the controversy carried an especially heartbreaking weight. Growing older while facing declining health, he had reportedly been denied any opportunity to meet Archie and Liliette, leaving the image of an isolated grandfather to dominate headlines and ignite furious public debate. People began asking how a family could speak so passionately about compassion while maintaining such complete separation. Then, attention shifted toward Britain. If Thomas Markle was suffering outside the gates, was another grandfather experiencing a similar emptiness inside the palace? The estrangement surrounding Harry and Meghan was no longer being treated as a private disagreement. It had become a public wound, and every silence appeared to deepen suspicion. Under mounting pressure, King Charles III addressed the growing division, declaring that responsibility for the distance between the families could not be placed entirely upon one person. King Charles III promised that every element would be considered fairly and compassionately, but the message also contained steel. The monarchy would protect its broader interests and would not allow the sovereign or his descendants to be disadvantaged. That statement reportedly presented Meghan Markle with an opening, and she seized it. Instead of retreating as criticism intensified, Meghan insisted that her choices came from the sacred responsibility of motherhood and the need to protect Archie and Liliette from hostile publicity and inherited emotional damage. She then turned the spotlight back toward Buckingham Palace, describing her years within the British royal family as oppressive and isolating. According to her account, harsh rules imposed by senior members pushed her into a corner, while the treatment Archie received after birth convinced her that leaving was the only way to save her family. A former staff member subsequently supported those accusations, claiming that invisible palace pressure controlled Meghan's movements and words, and that no meaningful protection arrived while she was pregnant with Archie and struggling emotionally. That testimony appeared to strengthen her position, but what followed stunned observers. Meghan announced an absolute prohibition preventing Archie and Lilith from having contact with King Charles III or Thomas Markle. Yet buried inside that apparently final declaration was a suspicious opening. The ban was presented as firm, but not necessarily permanent. If the British royal family accepted certain demands and conditions, critics believed the situation could suddenly change. That detail was treated like an explosive clue because it transformed an emotional boundary into something resembling a negotiation. Meghan could portray herself as the protective mother while forcing Buckingham Palace to decide how much it was prepared to concede. The burden had shifted. The pressure was now sitting directly before King Charles III. Meghan Markle's public defiance reportedly exhausted the monarch's patience. Watching the children become central to an increasingly public battle, King Charles III decided that carefully worded statements were no longer enough. He allegedly drafted an official email to Montecito, demanding that Meghan clarify what she truly expected from the palace. The message was direct. The British royal family was prepared to consider the children's welfare, but it would not participate in vague negotiations conducted through the media. What conditions were being imposed in exchange for a reunion? What exactly was the price of reopening the family door? The email demanded a specific answer, and according to the narrative spreading around this controversy, Meghan did not respond with fear. She responded with confidence because she believed the palace had finally entered her negotiation. But if King Charles III expected compromise, what reportedly arrived next would push this conflict toward an eruption nobody could quietly contain. The response response allegedly arriving from Montecito was not an appeal for understanding, but a list of demands that appeared to turn a family reunion into a transaction. Meghan reportedly requested substantial, guaranteed financial support for life in the United States, alongside legal and media protection for her reputation, personal title, and the titles of the children. The alleged condition was unmistakable. Without written guarantees, there would be no reunion. King Charles III was described as stunned and furious, immediately rejecting what he considered an attempt to exchange access to the children for money and royal privilege. There would be no payment, no negotiated status, and no surrender to pressure. But then, the private email details reportedly leaked, and the dispute escaped the palace walls. Public criticism erupted, only for the conversation to take an even darker turn as unsupported internet rumors began questioning whether Archie and Lilith resembled Harry, and whether they were biological descendants of King Charles III. Old photographs and videos from Meghan Markle's pregnancies were suddenly dragged back across social media, with users claiming that the appearance of a baby bump changed unnaturally. Those images did not prove a fake pregnancy or establish anything about parentage, yet speculation raced ahead of evidence, turning gossip into an international bloodline controversy. Meghan was accused online of not carrying the children herself, while Montecito and Buckingham Palace appeared trapped inside a crisis neither side could easily contain. What had begun with 2 excluded grandfathers had become a vicious public interrogation of 2 children. The rumors were unverified, but their impact was explosive because every recycled photograph became another alleged clue, and every official silence looked suspicious to audiences already convinced that something was being hidden. According to the dramatic narrative surrounding the scandal, King Charles III viewed the speculation as an attack on the legitimacy and dignity of the British royal bloodline. After watching old images repeatedly dissected online, the king allegedly summoned advisors and declared that patience had ended. Communication with Meghan would be severed completely. Every route into Buckingham Palace would close, and no further reports concerning her life or the children's affairs would be accepted. The account then claimed that King Charles with the Tard went further, announcing that Archie and Lilith's succession rights could be withheld unless a medical investigation conclusively disproved the circulating allegations. No verified palace announcement supports such extraordinary claims, but within the story, the threat represented the ultimate reversal of power. Meghan had supposedly used family access as leverage. Now royal recognition itself was being presented as conditional. The final warning was even more severe. If Meghan continued using the children to pressure the monarchy or promoted damaging fabrications, every noble title could allegedly be removed. King Charles III's declaration struck like lightning, leaving Meghan Markle facing the possible loss of status, financial expectations, and the royal connection supporting her international identity. Inside Montecito, Meghan was portrayed as emotionally collapsing as every carefully designed strategy disintegrated. The suspension of Archie and Lilith's succession rights, combined with the possibility of losing all titles, struck directly at what critics believed was her final remaining source of influence. While Meghan reportedly confronted panic and humiliation, online reaction moved in the opposite direction. Supporters praised King Charles II's supposed decisiveness and accused Meghan of treating the monarchy like a marketplace. Others defended King Charles III's alleged demand for bloodline verification and argued that nobody should attack a family while continuing to benefit from its privileges. Yet beneath that celebration remained an uncomfortable truth. The harshest allegations centered on children who had produced no evidence, made no demands, and chosen none of this conflict. Buckingham Palace appeared victorious within the sensational account, while Meghan stood isolated among the ruins of her ambitions. But was this truly the conclusion? Or merely the moment before the controversy fractures her marriage, forces another public counterattack, and drags Montecito into an even more destructive royal war?